That is joyous. It is the big broadcast. That is amazing. We are going to go to Gordon Knight. He is going to join us here in just a few moments. I don't know why Gordon Knight is going to join us. I've done an interview with Gordon Knight already, but we're going to go back to Gordon Knight, I guess. So we are going to go to Gordon Knight. He is going to join us here in just a few moments. He is going to join us via the magic of the old Skip Skype. Yes, the Skype-a-rooney. And we have got the fantastic Gordon Knight with us. Gordon, how are you, sir?
Doing very well. How's life in your neighborhood?
Well, not good, because I live in the typical local drug-infested neighborhood. Uh, but we have got Gordon Knight with us today, the fantastic Gordon Knight. So, Gordon, you have an incredible new project. Talk to us a little bit about this, my friend.
Yes, sir. We have a new book that came out. It's called Deep Six Diaries. So Deep number 6 Diaries. It is really honestly, James, it's more of almost a chronologizing of my 11 years worth of struggle trying to defend myself against the civil service. You know, we've all heard about the big names like Donald Trump or General Flynn like being targeted by the deep state, but we rarely hear about the little guy. And I kind of actually am the little guy in this instance. So it walks through what it takes to survive. That's kind of our project. My goal in these radio shows really is to try to generate some public awareness that increasingly the civil service is using their tools and their tactics against ordinary people, and you rarely hear about them because they don't have the profile to get the attention. And you know, James, the other tricky bit here is that when the civil service knows nobody's watching, they're quite a bit more flexible, let's say, with their interpretation of law.
Very much so. Very much so. Gordon Knight with us today. He's the author of Deep Six Diaries, the true story of one little guy trying to defend himself, his business, and his elderly father from bullying bureaucrats and government criminality. And this is just an incredible book. Talk to us a little bit about why the whole writing process and bringing this book to life.
Well, you know, we started this thing a little over 2 years ago. It was a long lead up to it. And to be frank with you, I mean, I wrote this book, Deep Six Diaries, but I wasn't planning on doing that, James. I was actually going to contract a writer for that purpose. And we did contract the late Doug Weed, if you know that name. He was the huge name in book and print, worked a lot of U.S. presidents, and was the last presidential biographer for Donald Trump. So he was a big catch for us. And he got really enticed by the sex appeal of the story. I mean, we have a very unique story here. A lot of government corruption that's cross-border. I come from Canada, but it spills into the U.S. in a pretty big way. And he was hooked on it. And we worked together, James, for, about 8 months. And we were a long way into this project. And then, as you are well aware, the FBI raided him because he was too closely associated with Donald Trump. And they seized all of his laptops and all his digital equipment, including all the files on this project. When he got them back, we had a lot of work to do to catch up. And tragically, as you also know, he had a stroke and he passed away only a few weeks after he got them back. And look, without in any way detracting from the hardship to that family, because the man was a brilliant man and he was a personal friend. So I don't want to detract from that. But, you know, it did put us in a difficult position as well, in that we had to start over on this whole project. So what I did, James, is I took through all of our records that we did over the last 11 years, and I put them all together into this thing. That's why it's called Deep Six Diaries. It's really a week-by-week, month-by-month battle chronology of how it is to defend, when you're the little guy, against this monstrosity of the civil service.
We have got Gordon Knight with us today. He's the author of Deep Six Diaries. So tell us about some of the goals for this book.
Well, I mentioned public awareness. That's goal number one. Obviously, we need to sell some copies. You know, intellectual property law, constitutional law, these are the two most expensive areas of law to try to defend yourself. And I'm stuck in both of them, so I need to sell some copies. These are my goals. The other thing that I've noticed here in trying to push this thing out here, James, is that most folks aren't aware of the extent to which the government of Canada in particular, but other foreign governments, are operating inside the United States. And so it's quite apart from my personal struggles in this, or my professional struggles, we've got some significant liabilities in this country. The Canadian government in particular is actually deciding on behalf of the American government what products are allowed to be sold inside the United States. They're involved in deciding imports, mainly from Asia, but also from Europe. So we have outsourced our importation regulatory to a foreign government that operates inside the U.S. Technically, it's contrary to law, but they're not doing a single thing about it. Most people don't know that.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, I shouldn't say that's amazing because, my God, I'm not shocked that this is going on. So who are the people that are? Because one of the things that it always comes down to, who's making the money? That's what it always comes down to, because we had a guy on, I don't know, a couple shows back who he's got this incredible cancer drug, and he cured cancer. He cured his cancer basically, and he's tested it on other people, and he's a medical physician and all these things, but of course he's not going to get anywhere because somebody's not making some money on this. So why is this allowed to happen? Who's the one making cash on this stuff, my friend?
Well, it's allowed to happen because they're getting away with it and nobody's noticing. That's the quick answer. Okay. But if you think about any of these regulatory items, like you mentioned cancer drugs, the testing and clinicals on a pharmaceutical product are, let's face it, they're very academic, they're dull, they're dreary, they're boring, they just are. It's kind of like the FAA. I mean, nobody pays attention until there's a plane crash. That's kind of what I've faced in my own experience. My company dealt with electrical guidebooks. So electrical regulatory law, I mean, this is not sex appeal, all right? So this is the reality, but civil servants know that, and they know they can get away with pretty much anything unless something blows up unexpectedly, right? So in the case of these importations and so forth, nobody's interested in it. The civil service got involved in it. They figured out that they could start charging companies for testing and certification, compliance testing for safety of these products to allow them to be on store shelves. They also figured out that they don't actually have to do any of the testing. They could just take the money and certify as though they had done the testing. All right?
Hey, fairly recently there was a bunch of what was it? It was a bunch of cable internet people were supposed to go into the rural communities in Kansas, and they were supposed to install high-speed internet. They just took the government's money and put no internet up. So, that's essentially what could happen here. I just take the cash.
It is, and this is what's happening a lot. I mean, the agency that I'm referring to...
insane, my friend.
The agency that I'm referring to right now is called CSA Group, the acronym CSA. It patterns itself as a private company, so it has all of the ability to profit, you see. But it's fully staffed by civil servants. It's funded by the Treasury of the Government of Canada. It's unquestionably government, but it operates as a private outfit, which means they can take all the profits, but as a government agency, they're given legislative immunities. So, you talk about cables buried in Kansas. I'm not diminishing that, but, what's actually happened in this case, people have been seriously injured. There have been fatalities over this, and there's no way to hold them accountable because, first, they're civil servants. Second, they've been given immunity. And third, they're from a foreign country, James.
Yes.
So hold these people accountable. You can't. It's a license for crime.
Just amazing. We have got the fantastic author of the Deep Six Diaries, the incredible Gordon Knight, with us today. He joins us live, as live can get, on the old Skip Skype today. And so what has been the feedback that you've gotten on this book so far from folks that have picked this book up?
We launched the book in November of last year, and we sold, I think, less than 100 units, and the government managed to get us banned, James. So this book...
Of course!
Well,
when it was successful, let's just ban the book.
Well, there you go.
Plus something else, for whatever reason, that's a big hot thing right now. We're banning books, baby.
Now, do it. If anybody's complaining about what you do, you silence them. That's how you handle opposition. That's certainly what they did with me. And I tell you, when the government tries to ban a book, that's a hot potato, right? Nobody really wants to look at that. Yeah. So the government is good at what is in digital means is called shadow banning.
Yes.
So the government did in my case, even though I'm in the U.S., they sent notifications to credit card companies telling them that I, the publisher of Deep Six Diaries, was guilty of money laundering.
Of course, of course. It's the Rolodex of stuff. You know, it's either money laundering, child trafficking, human trafficking, prostitution. There's a Rolodex. They just happen to choose money laundering for you.
No, they chose that one because they knew it would shut down my ability to sell.
Of course.
Anymore, right? So then I went to Amazon. I could sell it on Amazon. The story changed with Amazon. Now they said that my book, my name is on the cover of Deep Six Diaries, James, but they said it was a counterfeit product. And that got it pulled from Amazon.
Of course.
Now, so you're going to complain about it, right?
I love it.
Through a court, and that takes money, and they knew it. So they followed up these actions by reaching into my U.S. account and withdrawing $25,000 as punishment for money laundering. And then 6 days later, they did it again. So 50 grand in 1 month, that pretty much tapped me out. I'm a pretty small operator, James. So they prevent you from being able to complain about the crime that they committed. It's pretty sick stuff, and it shouldn't shock us, but my goodness, it's going on.
It's incredible. It is incredible.
Here's the plus side, James.
Yes, go ahead, my friend.
No, I got a happy story for you. As of this week, we now are back on Amazon. So if you look for Deep Six,
well, that's good.
Deep, the number 6 and Diaries on Amazon, you will find us. We're there right now. I can't, your listeners, I can't tell you how long we'll be there, given the track record here. But right now, it is still available. So we survived about 10 weeks of banning.
Well, see, I remember the last time I had you on the show, you weren't allowed on Amazon, and now you're back on Amazon. So that's...
It's a bit turbulent out here.
It is thank the Lord for small favors, as they say. Gordon Knight with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. And he is absolutely amazing. The fantastic Gordon Knight with us. We are going to be chatting with Roger Homefield here in just a few moments. He's going to join us, but we've got Gordon Knight right now, and Gordon has Deep Six Diaries, which is an absolutely amazing book. And so what are some of your goals for this book, my friend?
Well, I'm still being sued by the government of Canada. I mentioned that they've targeted me for a number of years. They've issued a warrant for my arrest. They've got, supposed to put me in a life sentence in prison, if you please, is a pretty draconian move for a small-time electrical publisher. So I've got a lot to defend here. My need really is to get the word out because they're now targeting me in the U.S. Now, I give you one piece of recent information, James. But 2 months ago, January, one of their lawsuits in the United States in federal court in Texas upheld a Canadian private law ruling. Now, I know this sounds dry, but stay with me. There's something important here.
Yes.
That means that we have a U.S. court for the first time that has agreed that legislation inside the United States can be privately owned by the civil servants that drafted it. That is actually a big deal because private ownership means the civil servants can decide to invoice the government every time the law is enforced. It's like a self-assessed bonus. It also means they can show preference. They can decide that for their friends, the law will be exempted. They're not going to give permission for their laws to be used in enforcement. But you can fully enforce it on people they don't like very much. So this is a really, really bad sign that we have a court that's actually upheld this, and that's just in January. It is under appeal, James, but it's going to take a year to get there.
Just amazing. Before we let you go, where do people find you on the web, social media, all these things? Deep6diaries.com. Deep6diaries.com. Links are for the book purchase on Amazon at that site as well. They can contact us there as well. We've got a whole bunch of government invoices we're willing to assist with on the what's called the collections tab. They can check that out. It's a bit incendiary. They might like that. And, of course, I do respond to email. So anything they send, I will reply. That's awesome. Well, you are amazing. I would love to do this sometime when we can get you on with Don Mazzella and IQL Rizzoli, because I think they would just love this book, this story, this whole thing. And the fact that you've got a really cool Skype background there, that also helps. That's fantastic. So it's, please. It all works. But Gordon, you are amazing. We're going to go to our next guest, Roger Homefield, here in just a few moments. Thank you, my friend. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, James. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, brother. There he goes, the fantastic Gordon Knight. Not to be confused with Gordon Jump from WKRP in Cincinnati. WKRP in Cincinnati. Okay, so we are going to go to the fantastic Roger Homefield. He joins us live here on our big